Well, good evening, everybody. This is your host. Thank you for tuning in to another episode this evening. I'm happy to announce that this is our 1 year anniversary. So thank you for all you loyal viewers, and I'm happy to announce this is our 1 year anniversary. So thank you for all of your steadfast support, and we look forward to creating more exciting content for you in the near future. So joining us this evening is Mr. Bob Fetter. He is a candidate for Easley City Council. And he's also on the Planning Commission. He's going to share with us some of his ideas for the city of Easley if elected. So again, thank you for joining us this evening. And this is your host, Mason Sims. And let's get started. Well, good evening, everybody. This is your host, Mason Sims, and thank you for tuning in to another episode tonight. Joining us is Bob Fetter. He is on the Planning Commission for Easley, and he is also running for Ward 6 for the city of Easley. And thank you for joining us this evening.
Appreciate the opportunity. Thanks.
Absolutely. So while you're on the air, just feel free to tell us about yourself.
Well, born and raised in Easley, graduated from Easley High, Clemson. First job after Clemson was wanting to work for Daniel Construction Company, and probably had 6 or 8 interviews, different departments and everything, and ended up with American Equipment Company, and they're still there. Rented and sold construction equipment for Daniel jobs and for the general public. And after a year in Greenville, they sent me to Beaumont, Texas to run a little branch operation, which was tasked primarily to support the Daniel jobs in Louisiana and Texas, which lasted for another couple of years. And then there wasn't enough business to keep my branch open, and they were going to bring me back to Easley, and I wasn't ready. So I went to work for a manufacturer out of Milwaukee, traveling out west, and didn't like the weather, so went with a competitor out of Long Beach, California. Moved to Myrtle Beach, had the eastern half of the country in Canada for a territory, and long story short, ended up on the Alabama Gulf Coast area. And then in 83, when interest rates were 18 to 22%, couldn't give construction equipment away, much less anything else. Happened to have my real estate license, and Gulf Shores was closed. And so that started my real estate career back then. And I was in that market for 20 some odd years, and then moved to South Central Tennessee, had a bed and breakfast, stayed in real estate, ended up back South Alabama, and then bounced up to Atlanta area for a few years, then moved back to Easley about 15 years ago. Always traveled, 6 or 8 times a year to visit family and friends, but really didn't look around to see all the growth and everything. So when I moved back, it wasn't the same Easley I'd moved from.
Right.
I mean, at one point in time when I was going to high school, or even just before that, Easley had fewer than 10,000 people. Now look at it. But
so, like, if you're going to once elected, what are your plans for advocating for controlled growth?
Well, controlled growth is a catchphrase, in my opinion, that a lot of people are using, and I really don't know the answer to control growth. I mean, on the Planning Commission, we previewed the UDO, went over that over 6 months, almost weekly, and revised it, put our opinions there, gave it to the council a few months back, and they finally passed the second reading at this past council meeting. That's going to help a little bit, but one thing I'm not a big fan of is the high density, like the apartments that are going in all over town.
Right.
If elected or when elected, one of the things I would like to present to the council is to limit high density development.
Right. Like the neighborhoods from like Great Southern Homes and places like
Well,
that.
the single family dwellings, single family homes are, if there's going to be housing, I'm all for the single family homes first.
Right.
Okay. Sometimes, like a townhome development is only thing affordable, but I'm not even a big fan of those, and certainly not apartment complexes.
Right. Especially when housing is expensive as it is, and that's what we want to do is eventually live in homes, apartments is something you're supposed to start off with, but not
Love to try to get more folks into homes, into single family homes, as opposed to renting. Right now, not a lot of difference between the cost to rent a property and the cost to buy it. I think a big stumbling block for people is getting the down payment. And closing costs need to be addressed. There's some programs that will help out with that, but home ownership, in addition to the American dream, it also creates stability in a family unit, and it creates wealth in the family unit.
right. Builds up equity.
Builds up equity two ways: paying off the mortgage and increasing value. Even with little dips and peaks and valleys and everything in growth, long term it's more of a steady up curve,
Right.
in pricing. So that increases equity, and paying off the mortgage increases equity.
And once or if elected to city council, what kind of powers or I guess privileges would you have in order to to advocate for affordable housing? So would you be
it,
able?
it would take a job.
Okay.
I've talked to a couple of builders, so that's part of the formula. You need land. That's part of the formula. They need then city needs to be involved as part of the formula. And what's the city involvement? Um, for example, when the impact fee was created for the city of Easley, it was written in there that the council would have the right to waive that fee under certain circumstances. So, in my opinion, if there was going to be housing built for the median income family,
Right.
then
And what is the medium income again in Easley?
it's 65,000 plus.
Okay.
Okay. Today's interest rates, well, affordable housing definition, the government definition of affordable housing is 30% of the gross family income going toward your housing expenses. And that's your mortgage, taxes, insurance, HOA, if there is one, and utilities. Okay. So that shouldn't exceed 30% of your gross income. Now, a lender, with good credit and not a lot of debt, a lender may make a loan based on a greater part of your income. But to me, that's kind of getting into the area that you're really working hard to stay in that house, and you just got beanbags inside because you can't afford furniture. That was all you could do to get into the house, and that's not a very healthy situation. But if you use the 30% rule, which is the government rule, then but the $60,000 threshold, that will only buy like a little bit more than $200,000 home. Somewhere between $205,000, $210,000, and it's hard to find a home period in Easley in that price range, much less a new one.
Definitely. And the ones that are, I mean, there's a picture upper, and the rooms aren't fully fixed and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, so it's everything you can do to get into the house, but you don't have any money left over to fix it.
Right.
So, finding the right builder who is going to give up on, well, it's going to end up being a smaller home with your basics, not the bare base. It's going to be a nice home, 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, um, nothing huge, starter home. Okay. You start in it. You either, as your family grows or you got a job transfer or something, you could do one or two things. You could keep it and rent it, or you could sell it for the next home. You can keep it and rent it for the next home too. Your lender, if the rental income is going to offset the housing expense, your lender's not going to ding you on that rental house. Okay, so then you got the renter paying your mortgage off. Okay, you get into another house. Or just keep on, as I upgrade or move or whatever, I sell one, buy another. It doesn't matter. You're still creating wealth for the future of the family. I've always called my house my bank. And stability. A family is less prone to just pick up stakes and move if you're if you own the house, you and the bank on it.
Right. Yeah, so that's definitely a goal of mine. I'm about to get married soon, so that's something that'll be on my radar as a house that I currently rent now. And that's something that I'm sure a lot of people my age or they're watching tonight is know how to address affordable housing because the interest rates really aren't where we want to be in the ever since COVID too, that's the in value really has increased a lot.
Well, interest rates, is funny you say that because when I started in real estate, interest rates were 18 to 22%.
Right.
And for a good portion of my real estate career, I thought 10% was a good interest rate. Okay, we've just been spoiled since even before COVID with the 3 and 4 and 5% interest rates. So now that we're in the sixes somewhere, it seems high, but it's really not. But that's neither. You still got to be able to afford it.
Right. Yeah, that's definitely seems to be a struggle, at least with the average American. They buy a house they think they can afford, but they really cannot afford it.
Many can't.
Yeah,
Most can, some can't. Yeah.
right. So, and one thing I wanted to ask you too is what would you do to ensure that your constituents' voices are going to be heard? That seems to be a common concern by the county and city councils. They just want to make sure they're truly listened to. So, how would you ensure that their voices are going to be heard?
Well, one thing is, as I've been going around knocking on doors, I began giving out two things: a little flyer and a little campaign business card. And the campaign business card has my cell phone on it. Okay, and I'm not going to change cell phones. I'm telling them, once I'm in the office, feel free to call. I mean, I've had folks to call me already, and I've kind of put out a couple little fires, but creating that communication between me and the general public is a challenge. We don't have a newspaper to speak of in the area. I mean, the Pickens Courier is the closest thing we have.
We have the Easily Progress too, don't we?
The Easily Progress is there, but it doesn't have a big readership. Growing up, Pickens Progress was a nice, viable weekly newspaper. Look at the Greenville News. It's got just a couple pages of Greenville, and the rest is USA Today.
That's right.
So, and there's, the internet is so broad with different sites to go to. I think Easily can probably do a better job on their website. Of course, they've got from what I understand, they've got a really good IT person right now.
That's good.
And, but, it'd be nice for me to say that I'm going to keep on knocking on doors even after I'm elected. I do want to be accessible. I do want to be transparent in what I do. I'll have, and I know there's a little bit of controversy right now about personal Facebook and easily business stuff. But again, if I'm transparent with everything, I don't mind if the city has access to it and the general public has access to it. Maybe you'll invite me to be on your podcast a couple times after I'm elected, and I can broadcast ideas that way too.
Sure. Yeah, you're more than welcome to. Yeah, all elected officials are welcome to get their word out. Yeah, and another thing I was going to mention too is that transparency seems to be a big issue here, and also priorities for allocating for city funds. And so, when if you are elected, what would you do to address those two things?
Well, the budget is a big question mark in my mind also. I mean, we had I think it's the biggest increase on record, almost 40%, almost a $10.8 million increase. And according to the mayor, it's not going to be recurring costs. So if that's the case, then next year's budget should be a good bit less than this year's budget. When asked, I was told that not only is it non-recurring, but what the money's going to be spent on isn't going to generate additional costs. And I don't see how that can happen, because you spend $10 million if it's in salaries, okay, that's going to be recurring. Okay, if it's in products, you're going to have to maintain those products, so that's going to be something recurring. So I want the I mean, it is on my radar to really check into the budget. I know Ralph, the financial director, and he's an easy person to get along with, and I just don't want. We can't afford that kind of thing. We can't afford to maintain that budget.
Right.
You're limited to how much you can increase your millage each year, and with that big jump, we could increase the millage on taxes to meet, if that's the new level of where the budget's going to be.
Right. And another thing I heard too was like the salary increase. Some people were displeased by that, about them voting to get the mayor and the city council salaries to increase.
From what I was told, or from what I heard, you always hear good run. There was supposed to be a salary increase this year over previous years, but it was supposed to be targeted to the bottom of the totem pole rather than at the top, not trickle down. But from what I've understand, the rank and file didn't have the same increase that supervisors and middle management and upper management got. So we need to keep the employees that we're spending money to train, your first responders, whether it be EMT or fire, police. We've got some good department heads, but I know in the past we've lost a certain number of employees that are going elsewhere because the money's better. Okay, so we need to get our salaries up to the point where we are competitive. And I think we're keeping more, from what I've been told, this year over previous years. But it's not an easy game to.
That's right.
To play.
Especially, competing with Greenville. I mean, they're a much larger city. That's one thing I hear around here, is that we lose a lot of first responders to Greenville.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say, that would be hard to compete with.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So I know you are on the planning commission, and you also are a realtor for the area of Beasley. So what other qualifications would you think would make you an effective city council member?
Well, I've been attending the council meetings for the last 9 years. I hadn't missed a whole lot of them. And,
That goes a long way.
well, what it's done for me is over that period of time, I feel like I'm pretty easy to get along with. And I've, not only met, but feel like I know the vast majority of the department heads. They know me. Um, I know the current council and the mayor and have a grasp on how they would vote on different types of measures and stuff. I know the current candidates so that, day one, hour one, when I start, I've got all this past history that I know about that I'll be ready to jump in to serve. Doesn't mean, wholesale changes and everything, but I know I'll be ready to serve as soon as I start on the job. There's not going to be any kind of lengthy training.
Right.
I didn't attend my first meeting, my first council meeting after I signed up to run for council.
Yeah, and it seems like some current elected officials and others I know, they haven't attended many meetings, and then all of a sudden, they put their hat in the ring for it. Yeah, that does say a lot that you've attended the meetings for 9 years. Because I feel like at least the average candidate wouldn't do that.
Yeah, I did it from an interest standpoint. I've been lucky and fortunate. Grew up here again, but I've lived in many different diverse areas, parts of the country, and seen how they operate, and come back to Easley, not the same town I left. A lot of changes, but I've got the experience of my youth here, growing up here, um, experience from living the other areas with open eyes and coming back and really getting a good grasp on what's happening locally. Not just because I'm on the planning commission, but I call it giving back. I'm on the board of the museum, and you've been working with United Way of Pickens County for the last several years, and um, been involved with the community. I've got a successful company I started. Um, Grandparents moved here more than 100 years ago to start Fedder's Fashion Shop clothing store, and I can look across the railroad tracks from my office and see where Fedder's was, and so I've got the past history, and looking at the future.
Very good. Yeah, especially name recognition. That definitely gives you an advantage as well.
It doesn't hurt. Yes.
Yes. Well, is there anything else that you'd like to mention while we have you on the air this evening?
No, just appreciate this opportunity. Like I said, this would be a method of getting my voice out to others afterwards. I wouldn't mind coming back. Um, it is an issue communicating with the public,
Right.
and but it's a two-way street. I mean, I'm not going to be hiding from issues and hiding from the public, but effective communication, the best communication is like you and I are doing right now, one-on-one, but that's the most expensive communication because you're giving up your time.
Right.
So what's the compromise that, the folks in Ward 6 and the rest of the city, how are they going to see me? I mean, I attend various events and, eat and shop locally. I'll do my best to communicate with the public. That's a goal.
Yeah, be prepared for people to stop you and ask you about dog waste laws and why the neighbor's dog went to the bathroom in their yard.
Hey, part of the job.
Yeah, that was one of the first people I met when I was door knocking. They asked me what I thought about dog waste laws, and I'm like, well, this is county council, so I'm not sure how that applies to that. Yeah, well, good. Yeah, it's definitely sounds like you're qualified for the job, and I appreciate you taking your time on here. And also, if you win, yeah, you're more than welcome to come on as well.
Appreciate it, Mason. Thanks.
Yeah, and that concludes our show for this. And that concludes our show for this evening. If you have not already, please feel free to click, like, share, and subscribe on our YouTube channel for future updates, and also follow our Facebook page as well. I hope that everyone has had a great week so far. And also, feel free to leave in the comment section of our YouTube and Facebook page with some topics that you would like for us to cover. I know I covered politics, but I'm more than happy to cover other issues as well. So feel free to put something in the comment section below, and I'll be happy to take a look at it. So again, thank you for joining us. Good night to all, and God bless America. Thank you.